Hi, everybody. Hang on. We need to make an adjustment. There we go. That's much better. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Hi, everybody.
Good afternoon, beautifuls.
Happy Wednesday. The wind blew, and guess what? No, I'm kidding.
What did California do now?
The new CPI numbers are out.
Yeah,
I want to
not caught
say
up
something
yet.
that's going to make everybody in LA County, Orange County, San Diego County, you're all going to laugh. Okay. The people that aren't going to laugh are the people in Riverside County and the Inland Empire. They're not going to think it's funny at all. But Orange County and LA County, you guys are going to laugh. Y'all ready? Inland Empire better buckle up because the CPI just came out and it's 2.5%. Meaning your maximum increase under the TPA is going to be 7.5%. And for the first time in history, the Inland Empire is under 8% of a maximum rent increase.
Wow.
I'm trying to keep my mouth shut because, bureaucracy and BS, but it's the very first time in history that we're seeing the Inland Empire getting hit with such high restrictions. Julia's not laughing. And I get it, but for the very first time, we've heard about everything that's gone on in LA, right, Julia? How the city has come in and capped their maximum rent increases at 3%, and then the county came in and said, we're gonna do 4%, and unincorporated county 4%. So for the very first time in the Inland Empire, we're seeing restrictions under 8%. And I know LA is laughing because they're like at 3% and 4%. But here it comes. Remember, I kept talking about the trickle down effect and how lawmakers look over the fence to see what's going on in neighboring counties. This is all part of that. But it spreads like cancer, you guys. It spreads like cancer. We're outnumbered, so we got to keep an eye on it, keep it monitored. I hate to do this. I really do. But my dog is alerting that she needs to go out. And if I don't do something about that, I'm going to be sorry in a moment. Hold on. Humans' reactions, right? Consequences. I don't like them consequences. So we're going to get up and let the dog out. I apologize. I'll make sure that she doesn't interrupt our future meetings. Okay.
Ah, she a little baby. We can wait for the babies.
No.
So then the end of it, wow. So then it's basically LA's like a cancer. Now it's just going to spread, which we know it was just a matter of time. But
It doesn't have to do with that. It has to do with the statewide rent control and restrictions. But some of us in the Inland Empire area, example, San Bernardino County and Riverside County, we haven't seen a big, huge impact from the rent control restrictions. I mean, LA City, and people are going to correct me if see, yeah, we can wait for this cancer to spread. See, that's what they're saying. They haven't seen the 3% maximum, the 4% maximum that we've been fighting with for so many years. Just now, this year, are they going to be under 8%? So for them, it's shocking, but it's spreading. I hope, fingers crossed, toes crossed, eyes crossed, that our new governor, everybody pay attention to that and spread it. Spread it like cancer because most of your tenants are pissed at Gavin Newsom for some reason or another. It's not just all rentals. Does that make sense? Gavin Newsom has done a lot of damage to the state of California, both for landlords, for tenants, for us natives. to the
Oh.
state. He's
Yeah,
done a lot of
there's a good
damage.
book about Gavin Newsom. Fool's
There's
Gold.
fool's gold. Well,
Oh yeah. Talks a
well,
lot about Gavin Newsom.
look at where his aunt is, Nancy Pelosi, right? Hello. Let me just say this, okay? We have an opportunity to put a new governor in play. And I encourage you and suggest that you advertise to your tenant and talk to everybody you know about getting him out of here. He's doomed for our state and he is doing it intentionally. Um, and I'm not trying to get all political, but let me just say this. When we get a new governor, hopefully we see a 180-degree turn as quickly as possible. I saw currently, and this may be just clickbait, if you will, but I saw currently that and this is what I saw, so forgive me, okay? But I saw something about a transgender person winning a state championship, and I'm assuming this is a child like in high school. I shouldn't say child, but someone in a younger than me. Yay! Younger than me. Um, in sports, and Trump sent a message to Gavin saying he better watch himself because Trump's not tolerating them coming out of gender to compete in sports. Is that the way I want to say it? I don't know what the politically correct way to say that is without offending anybody. You know, so but I saw some kind of clickbait in regards to that. There's where I'll take that and I'll leave it there. I just hope we get a new governor. I mean, the one we have is governing us into the ground and chasing out the natives in droves. I mean, come on. Are there a couple of bad bills at state legislator? Oh, are there? There are a couple of bad bills at email and call your state assembly people and state senators. AB 863 would require all notices in tenants' primary language, including Spanish, Chinese, Tagalog, Vietnamese, or Korean. This requirement would apply if the lease was originally negotiated in one of those languages, or if the landlord was previously notified by the tenant or anyone acting on the tenant's behalf that Spanish, Chinese, Tagalog, Vietnamese, or Korean is the tenant's primary language. I don't think that they have interpreters in all of the courtrooms that are able to keep up with their new laws. Not being a jerk, but talking to you guys out loud. Watching a law change and everybody scramble trying to figure out the new process and procedure, what the law actually interprets to, considering there's no case law that actually decides it, makes it all very challenging when something like that passes. Okay, so it creates a whole bunch of problems for us as landlords, property managers, blah, 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 because we now have to figure out, oh my goodness, have they ever told us that they speak another language? What language was it? I'm trying to remember. Was it Cantonese? Was it, and I tried to pick something that wasn't on the list. Take note, okay? And it makes you start to wonder, do I need to translate? What if their language isn't on this list? If it is on this list, do I have to do it? If it's not on this list, am I exempt? Breathe, slow down and breathe. We can only eat an elephant one bite at a time, okay? So quite frankly, when all those questions start getting thrown at me, Patty, if this passes, how are we going to do this and how do we do that? And I don't remember what language they said. It creates this giant us, we don't want anything to do with the stress ball. Wasn't that great? I muted myself and then unmuted myself, I think. Did I do okay? I pushed a button. Tell me you guys can still hear me, please. I'm having a
Yep,
blonde moment. Okay,
can hear
there.
you.
I pushed a button, all of a sudden the screen went blank and it was like, you unmuted yourself. And I was like, great, how long has that been going on? Sorry, you guys, squirrel. Okay, what were we talking about? The new Senate bill that's up. That's a nasty bill. Yes, sir, yes, they discriminate against you for speaking English. I get it. I understand the frustrations. What we're trying to say here and what Chris is trying to encourage us to do is reach out and see what we can do to stop this and get involved with it, be aware of it. What a nightmare would that be? And let me just explain to you a different perspective of it. Okay, so now the notices is in the tenant's primary language. Okay, why is this a problem, Patty? How do you know if your notice is right or wrong if you can't read it? Wait, hold on. How does the judge know if it's right or wrong? Because the judge can't read it. He needs an interpreter. Paying attention yet? It causes all kinds of problems down the road that we don't think of. Those interpreters cost you quite a bit of money in jury trials. Chris, am I missing anything? Help me out here on how this causes problems for landlords financially. I mean, if they gotta have an interpreter, your legal counsel needs an interpreter to read the documents as well. Does that make sense? They have to hire an interpreter to create the documents. Makes sense?
Yeah, and also probably like CAA and AGLA and every other place that sells you forms is gonna have to raise their dues, I would imagine.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that your legal counsel is going to charge you a different amount for a notice in a different language. It just makes sense. It's an upsale, for lack of a better word. We all know what that means. But I'm sure it's going to cause problems in the courtrooms because not all judges speak all those languages either. So, yes, it's a huge problem. We don't want to have to deal with it. I remember the first couple of times that I saw leases written in Spanish. And I just looked at it and I could make out a couple of words. Casa. I mean, hello, come on. I do know some Spanish. It's not enough for me to get by. I'm not conversational by any means, but I have said for so many years, muy poquito español, señor, señorita, un momento, por favor. Well, I say that so well, they think I speak Spanish and they just keep talking. They don't understand. That's it. That's all I got, man. The rest of the words, you don't want to know. I got the food, the booze, and how you can cuss somebody out. Because isn't that what we learned first?
Patty, I went
Yes.
to court because I had a traffic ticket
Uh-huh.
and I speak more than one language.
Uh-huh.
And the interpreter told the defendant exactly what to say in their favor. So I can see this happening all the time because interpreter is interested in working more and getting paid more.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Is the interpreter, because you understand the language, I don't, is the interpreter telling you word for word what the court is saying and what the attorneys are saying, or are they just telling you how to answer?
Well, first she prepped them, saying exactly what to say, and then she told them when they looked at her what to say in the language. So
Wow.
she was, I know, it was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it, but that's
And the judge isn't catching on to it because he doesn't speak the language, so he doesn't know what's
Exactly.
being said.
Exactly.
Nobody else is oh, wow.
So it's a can of worms.
The
Yeah.
system's broken and they're trying to pass laws to break it worse. I want to say something so badly, and I know Chris is going to yell at me. So I probably shouldn't. But man, if you're coming to America and you're going to do something that's going to cause you to be in our courtrooms, learn to speak our language. I can't imagine, okay? I just can't imagine that if I were to go to and I'm just going to pick a country. Don't laugh at me, okay? Russia, okay? They're not going to give me contracts in English. Nobody's not disagreeing with me. Great. Yeehaw. What are we doing? I'm just saying. If I go to Spain, do you think they're going to give me everything in English? No. Agreed? Uh-oh, I lost Tony. Where'd you go, Tony? Okay, hang on. Can you still go to small claims court over COVID rent? Is there a statute of limitations? There's no more COVID relief funds available, Tony. Well, Tony, to answer your question, the statute of limitations on a written contract is 4 years and on an oral agreement is 2 years. But if the tenant is still in possession, you don't have a problem. So it happens from when they move out. If they're still in possession, then they still owe you the money. Once they move out, your statute of limitations is 2 years on an oral agreement, 4 years on a written contract.
But you also have the damages limitation. It's usually pretty low in small claims.
$12,500.
Right. I'm taking it on faith that that's the right number. I haven't looked it up, and it.
I looked it up. It changed
Okay.
as of January 1. It used to be 10 grand. It changed January 1, 2025. That limit was exceeded to $12,500.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess my point is that for a lot of rents, if you have a couple years of back rent and you really actually want to get it, small claims is going to just get you a small part of it.
Correct. And if it's a large amount, unlimited general civil or unlimited might be a better choice for you depending on the dollar amount and the collectability of the funds. Why do I say the collectability of the funds? Well, if your tenant, and I'm just talking out loud, if your tenant is currently on welfare, working a part-time job, and they owe you all of COVID rent, $100,000, how are you ever going to get that money out of them? Okay, unless they win the lottery, because God knows it's not going to happen to you or I, right? So just trying to put that point out there and make that well known that that could be something that we think about. Is we also get challenged sometimes when we poke them in the eye for funds. And remember, you can file small claims while they still live in your house. You can go after them right now. As far as that goes, all the protections for COVID rents that I'm aware of have ended. There is no more protections for them. And I think the final accounting was, and this came out of, I had the assembly bill the other day, 981? No, 91? Was it Senate Bill 91? Like the 91 freeway? Is that how I remembered that one? God, it's been so long ago. So much has happened since then, you know? But I think it was the second assembly bill or Senate bill we had in the COVID pandemic said that we had to change the way we did our accounting until April 1st of 2025. So with that said, I think we're past that date. So now we can apply funds where they're supposed to go, not where the tenant thinks we want to put them. COVID changed the way that we applied our accounting. We had to apply the monies received in the month we received them, and any overages went to future months. Nothing went in the rears unless we told it to go to the rears, or the tenant had to put in writing to apply where to apply it. So with that said, that is now, that ship has sailed and left the building, and we can breathe again.
A quick question.
There was another one about changing a 3-day notice to pay rent or quit to 14-day notice to pay rent or quit. I'm going to tell you right now, they've been talking about doing that for decades. We've been fighting it for years, just like we've tried to fight off rent control for years. They want to give them more time. I'm going to be realistic with you right now, so pay attention, okay? Currently, if you have federal funds touching the property, you have to give a 30-day notice to pay rent or quit. When I say federal funds touching the property, if you didn't buy it, conventional loan or pay cash, and you went Freddie Mae, Fannie Mac, FHA, any of that type of things, you are most likely subject to the CARES Act because federal money either insured, funded your mortgage. If that were to happen, you have to use the CARES Act notices. Your
What if you-
tenant's subject to the CARES Act, meaning
What
they
if
get
you
a
paid
30-day
off?
pay
What if
rent
you
or
pa-
quit.
What
Sorry?
if you have paid off said loan?
Then you don't have federal
Okay.
funds touching the property. The loan's paid off.
That's what I thought, but okay.
It would be like, what if my tenant was getting Section 8 and then Section 8 stopped paying because it's a fraud or whatever? Am I still subject to federal funds? No, they're not paying you anymore. You're done. So keep that in mind that if you have federal funds touching you, it's a 30-day notice to pay rent or quit. It provides additional protections to the tenant. That 30 days doesn't count holidays and weekends, so it ends up being more like a 45-day notice. If they're going to give these types of protections to people that have federal funds touching them, because you got a loan through the federal government or the government's giving these CARES Act, this type of protections, basically giving them a 45-day notice to pay rent. And let me show you where that's a problem. Okay, it's a 30-day, but it doesn't count weekends, it doesn't count holidays. By the time the 30-day expires, you're 45 days in and they already owe another month of rent. Paying attention? Does this make sense? I'm just saying. So it's definitely something to think about when you're dealing with the CARES Act and federal funding. But if they're going to offer a 30-day notice protections to federally funded properties, the rest of the tenants are going to say, they get this, why don't we get anything? You have to understand it's good. They're trying to make it more of an equal playing field. I hope that makes sense. I mean, it's not fair. Let me just say it this way and have you breathe, okay? Everybody take a deep breath. It's not fair if your mortgage company doesn't charge you a late fee till 45 days later. Mine charges me one 3 days later. There, did I say it in terms everybody can relate to? Why? Because yours is federally funded and mine wasn't. That's not fair to us as landlords. We need to even the playing field a little bit. So rather than giving me a 3-day grace period, I'm going to demand a 15-day grace period. They have 45. Why not? They got 30 plus no weekends and holidays. Are you guys understanding? They're just trying to equal the playing field. The problem is the federal government dove off the edge of the cliff head first. Also call your assemblyman. How about if you don't have a federal loan, but the tenant's Section 8? Then you're subject to the CARES Act. You have to serve a 30-day notice. Anything regarding money is a 30-day notice. Ouch. So it's a 30-day pay rent or quit subject to the CARES Act, not counting weekends and holidays. Whether the federal funds is touching off coming in from the tenant side or touching from the owner side. I guess that's probably the easiest way that I could explain that. Okay, so we talked about changes in the CPI. They're coming for various areas. We're gonna see, oh, now the dog wants back in. Hold on, it's hot out there today, so give her a break. Is it too hot out there for you? Oh, yeah. You're gonna be breathing. Nope, and here she comes. With her huffing and a puffing. Sorry, you guys. If she gets too bad, I'll kick her out of here. All right, who has questions? Things we want to talk about?
Patti, if
Yes.
you don't do a balcony reinforcement in timely manner, what is the consequences? Is it like you cannot sell, or do they force you to do abatement? What's going on? I'm not so sure.
I recall looking up the consequences of the failure. Quite frankly, it's more time and money than I want to pay. So all of my buildings will be done no later than August. Why do I say all of my properties will be done no later than August? Because you and I both know one thing, okay? And pay attention, because you're all going to go, yep, that's right. So pay attention, okay? What happens right before a deadline to perform is forced on us? Right before that deadline is going to expire, what happens? The price goes up? Ooh, does the price go up? Supply and demand, right? Right before we're forced to do something, the price to do it goes up. Everybody agree with that? Okay, get your balconies inspected by August, because all those vendors are going to raise their price in the last quarter. Why? Because of supply and demand. Just makes
Also,
sense
wanna-
to take care of it now.
there's a whole other reason too, and that is if you're violating a statute, it's negligence per se. So
Well,
if something,
also,
God forbid, something did happen, like you're going to be liable, and hopefully your insurance actually covers you when you're out of
amen.
compliance.
Amen. And that was the next thing I'm going to say. And in the event you actually have a structural issue and somebody collapses the balcony, elevated walkway, stairwell, whatever it is we need to get inspected, it's not just balconies, folks, elevated walkway. Example, condominium complex has a staircase going up to the second level, and there's a unit up there and then a walkway to go to another unit. Of elevated walkways need to be inspected. Got it? Elevated walkways, balconies, okay? All because people plummeted to their death due to a structural issue. This is how the state of California is doing something about it. Okay? It's a health and safety issue, and that's the bigger picture is, God forbid somebody fell to their death, because I don't know how much your insurance covers you for a wrongful death lawsuit. Because I mean, if that was me, that's what I would do. And you know, if you guys called me and said, "Hey, this just happened to my daughter," I'd be calling an attorney talking about wrongful death lawsuit. It's over my pay grade, but that's where I'd point you. Okay, with that being said, let's get this done and get this out of sight, out of mind, make sure that it's handled so we can move forward. I can look and see what the consequences are for failure to comply, but I'm going to tell you, it wasn't pretty when I looked at it. My brain said, it's too rich for my blood. We're not going to play that game. We're going to get inspected. But I can go back and look at the SB 71, I think it is. 271, 291.
721.
There we go. I had some of the numbers, just not in the right order. And yes, I am sober. I just know we have to do something and why we have to do it, but I didn't think I needed to retain the number. Thank you, Arlene, for helping. So if you guys have questions about that, make sure you ask about it. We'd be more than happy to answer you, but I'm going to tell you, if you met all those people at the trade show that do all the balcony inspections and all of that and got their information, great. If you didn't, reach out to AGLA and see who they have that they can offer. Get bids, get estimates. They're all competing with each other. So if they're going to offer a free estimate to go out there and have a look, take advantage of that, okay?
And the condo is SB 326. They have different requirements.
Yeah. Thank you, Arlene.
Hi, Patty. What about if you have, it's not a balcony, but it's a second story apartment that is on top of a duplex, and it has a little like a patio on top. And
Absolutely. You have to
does
have
that
that
consider?
inspected. You have to have that,
Okay.
anything that is an elevated walkway.
Yeah.
In other words, if you can go up a couple of stairs and then people are walking on it, that needs to be inspected.
Thank you.
That's not a
I'll-
Juliet balcony. One
I'm-
that's there that you can't stand on.
Say
they
that
have
one more
little-
time, Arlene.
They have things that are called Juliet balconies that are just like a little, you can't
It's
stand on it.
cosmetic.
Correct, yeah.
Right. If it's a fake balcony and just looks like a balcony from the outside as a cosmetic thing, but it's not a real balcony and you can't walk out and step onto it, you don't need to have that inspected. Elevated walkways that people are standing on, balconies. Here, I'll explain why really quick, and I won't go into a lot of detail because all of you may already know. The reason this law passed is in Berkeley several years ago, 6 or 8, I don't remember how many, and that's horrible that I don't remember. Irish exchange students plummeted to their death in Berkeley. They were having a party. It wasn't a loud, ridiculous party. It was they were having a party outside on the balcony, and it was too much weight on the balcony, and they all plummeted to their death. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that at their house. Nobody wants that at their community. And come on, let's face it. If you put a couple patio chairs in an elevated walkway and you go sit there, the last thing you want to do is take a nosedive 3 stories. Right? It's not what we're anticipating happening. But with that said, this is why we're having those inspections. This is a health and safety issue. This is being enforced by the state of California. Okay, because of what happened to those poor students. We're doing something about it. Okay, so don't be mad. It's proactive, reactive, and I'd rather have you deal with having to do this than figuring out a wrongful death lawsuit. Okay?
Years ago, 6 people.
6? Okay.
Yeah, there was
Go ahead.
there was also one in Chicago in 2003 where 13 people died, but it was during a party.
Yep.
And
And
like 57 others were injured. So
there was another one in New York, and I believe one in Miami as well. So this is a problem in other areas, not just in our state, but our state is doing something about it. How do you protect a tenant in place that has a medical disability from having a new potential tenant that has a protected issue that would impact the first tenant that lives below? Okay, let's say this in English. Thank you, Arlene, for giving me the tongue-twisting, politically correct question. Okay? Because that's what she did. She gave me a politically correct question, and I love you for that. You ready? How do you protect a tenant in place that has a medical disability, okay, from having a new potential tenant that has a protected issue that would impact the first tenant that lives below? Example, tenant in unit, whatever, top unit, has a disability and is severely allergic to pet dander. Cats, dogs, birds, you name it, they're allergic. And this tenant wanting to move in has a husky that sheds like, I remember an old commercial about a cat sneezing and all its hair flying off. It was for a Eureka vacuum, probably back in the early 90s. One of my favorite commercials ever. The cat's all meow. Don't ask. Anyway, and that could be a problem because this tenant's been there and now we're moving in somebody that also has a wheelchair that sheds pet dander. So how do we handle that? We can't control who lives where. Everybody has the right to live everywhere, right? So all we can do is allow them to move in, and if they have a problem with each other, then they need to work that out with each other, and or one of them needs to move. If not, you can't play favorites. You got to play even. You got to be transparent. You got to play by the rules. So we can't tell anybody, oh, you shouldn't live here because the guy upstairs is allergic to dogs. And I'm just using this as an example for her scenario. I'm not saying that's what her scenario is because that's not what she wrote. I'm just giving you an example, okay, of how I would handle that, how I would proceed with that.
Can I ask you another question? It's kind of a property management thing.
Well, I kind of know a property manager.
Yeah.
So what do you got?
Yeah. If I have to show a unit to somebody who has a dog And I've been bitten, so I'm very afraid of dogs.
Mhm.
Do I let them look at the unit by themselves? Do I ask them to hold their dog? Do I tell them I mean, or do I just like grin and bear it and just be careful? I mean, I don't, you know,
Okay, because all of you guys are my clients, my friends, my fellow teammates, okay? I'm going to tell you, every once in a while in property management, and I've done leasing, I've done all kinds of things, but in leasing, every once in a while, you get a bad feeling. We all do, okay? We get that sixth sense. We get that, whatever, I call it my asshole alarm, because at some point, something bad's about to happen, okay? So pay attention to that. Okay. Pay attention to that alarm that goes off in your head and goes, wait a minute, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't sound right. This doesn't look right. Let me explain it to you this way. If I'm going to show somebody a property and they have anything that creeps me out, wigs me out, makes me feel the slightest bit uneasy, I unlock the door and say, help yourself. I'll be out here on the phone when you're finished. Just let me know. And I don't even go into the property with them.
but if there's a tenant already in place, I don't like to leave people with the tenant's stuff in there.
I completely and totally understand. I also have a habit of not showing why it's tenant occupied, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
And Arlene's going to go, yeah, this isn't my case though, Patty. And I
Well,
already know. I already know.
No, I understand. Yeah.
Most of us that have tenants that are vacating, the tenants don't want to be bothered. They're
Mhm.
not going to help you. They're irritated because they're leaving, or they don't want to be invaded, for lack of a better word, unless they're breaking their lease and trying to move out. Then they want to help you get it re-rented. But for the most part, tenants don't. So I've made it a practice in my business policies and practices, mine, not yours. This is a business decision. If you decide to make it, so be it. I don't show a property until it's vacant unless I have express written permission from the tenant. And usually that only happens when they're breaking their lease. The reason I don't even want to expose that to them is it depends on who shows up when I'm showing the property. You know, I have a great relationship with the wife, but the husband shows up and he's pissed off at her because they're actually getting a divorce. So he starts running his mouth about all the repairs we did 2 years ago and how it took us a whole weekend to get them done, even though it was a holiday. But I don't get to plead my case. He's only verbal vomiting what he wants to say. So for that reason of you can never predict what's going to come out of another human's mouth, I don't show a property until it's vacant unless the tenant is breaking their lease and they're asking me to help them re-rent it so that they avoid all of that, unless we're mitigating damages, for lack of a better way to explain it. I hope that helped.
Yeah, thank you.
Because it's too risky, you know, especially don't ever, 7 times never show a property where you're evicting the tenant. Okay. They are not going to say good things. Just saying. Or where you're fighting or you're arguing with them or there's a bad relationship or you ask them to leave. You never know what they're going to throw at, and you only get to make a first impression once. So don't allow someone else to damage that first impression for you. Okay? I don't trust humans. So I wait till it's vacant and I have a little bit more power. But yeah, Arlene, I wouldn't be showing an occupied property. That's scary. And I wouldn't be going into a vacant house by yourself either. I'd be unlocking the door and taking 2 steps back and just calmly saying, I need to make a phone call. If you have any questions, I'll be out front here. The kids say something now, right now. Hold on, and I'll remember what it is. And for those of you that know, you'll know. And for those of you that don't, I guess you'll go look it up and then you'll think I was offended. Way back in the day, I FAFO'd, okay? And I don't ever want to do that again. So now, I mean, I've found myself in a property, and I know everybody hasn't met me personally. I'm pretty short. I'm 4'8". But I was standing in a property with a very large gentleman, over 6 feet tall. And all of a sudden his attitude did a 180-degree turn, and he came at me with his finger in my face, cursing at me and calling me a racist little bee and pointing his finger in my face. And I was backing up, and I was like, who, me? Are you kidding me? Me? What are you talking about? And I'm backing up and realizing that I am backing myself right into a stationary glass door, and I have nowhere to go. So I'm going to advise you to use that alarm, open the door, the alarm in your head that tells you something's not right. Just open the door and tell them, I'll be outside. I have a phone call I need to make. So I'll just be out here so I don't interrupt you. Let me know when you're done. When they come out, I will then, and leave, I will then go in and lock the house back up behind them. But in a tenant occupied home, very different set of facts. I agree with you, Arlene. And I would take somebody with you, get on the phone with somebody. There is a property management company that has an app out, or a system to help provide this type of security to property managers. So you can call them and be on the phone with them when you're going into a property, or in when you're unsettled, so that they know where your location is and they can send law enforcement if need be. And at least you're talking to somebody through it. So I can't think of the thing, and they were at the AGLA trade show, so I can look them up. I have a cheat way of figuring that out. Back in the day, we just used the office phone. If somebody called the office phone and just started rattling off the address, as soon as the person that answered had the address, we're then to say, okay, go ahead. And they're to continue to give us information for as long as they can give us information. And that person is now calling 911 because we know where they're at. Sometimes they'll say things like, I'm at Dr. Smith's vacant house. Well, 911 doesn't know who Dr. Smith is, but your office staff does. So sometimes we can't think straight. We don't know the address. We just know that we're at Dr. Smith's vacant house. In the event of a crisis, believe it or not, that's the one thing we don't seem to retain. I know, I'm guilty of it. In Lake Elsinore, could Chris, you heard my FAFO. Okay, hang on. I got something from Belsey. I hope you understood about the tenant and protection, and we can't pick favorites. We have to allow both of them to have housing. Okay? And if one doesn't get along with the other, that's not an us problem. Can a landlord remove a tenant from a lease agreement? If they wanted to. In this case, in Riverside, the original primary tenant paid the security deposit and moved out about 2 years ago. Despite moving, this tenant remains financially responsible under the lease. Meanwhile, the remaining tenants have brought in a new family member to live, but the unit and inform the landlord. However, the landlord does not approve of a new occupant and wishes to remove the original tenant from the lease. What should we do about it? Is it a single family home?
Yes.
Exempt from the TPA?
Yes.
Serve them a 60-day notice. Owner wants the house back. If they're still there on day 61, start eviction.
Got it. Okay. Thank you, Patty.
As long as you disclose it, it's exempt from AB 1482. Serve a 60-day GTFO notice. The owner wants the house back. Get out. If they're still there on 61, start eviction. I wouldn't start eviction, though. I'd go knocking and talking for cash for keys right there. If that makes sense. Oh, Chris, you're going to get me in trouble.
Hey,
It's like,
that's it. But don't
What?
they have to be there less than 1 year?
hold on, Arlene, help me out here. If they're exempt from the Tenant Protection Act,
Yeah.
they get a 60-day notice to get out, right? Less
Yes.
than a year's a 30-day, right?
Yeah.
I'm making sure I'm not messing up here.
Right, but I know it's 1 month's rent.
No, they're exempt from the TPA. It's a single family home.
Yeah,
It
but
doesn't
you still have
apply
to
to
pay them to
them.
get out, I
What
think.
Huh?
what
But don't-
jurisdiction though?
Riverside.
Oh, River, oh, maybe different. Okay.
Yeah, not LA County, sweetheart.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay. I'm waiting for you to go. She doesn't have to give him $20,000. Okay, so under the Tenant Protection Act, which is statewide rent control, okay, statewide means that you have to give them 1 month's rent as a relocation fee and have cause. Okay? If you are exempt, meaning that doesn't apply to you, then you can ask for your house back with a 60-day notice. Why 60 days? Because they've lived there over a year. If they were under a year, it would be 30 days. I hope that helped, Elsie. Lake Elsinore, could an appraiser go into a unit that's under eviction? Yes, if. You got that? Yes, they can, if. Paying attention? Want to know what the if is? The if is if the tenant lets them in. Serve 24-hour notice to enter for, there's a thing on the form that says for mortgagees, mortgagors, appraisers, there's something like that to facilitate the sale of the property, something along those lines. So serve the 24-hour notice. If they let you in, great. If they don't let you in, you're already doing an eviction. Don't bother trying to do anything else. Just have to wait. And tell the appraiser to go there with a few hundred. How bad do you need in there? How much cash do you have? I'm just saying. They may open the door if the appraiser hands them a couple $100. I mean, I don't know. It's worth a shot. Trying. All right. Who else has something for today? So we're coming up on the hour. That came up quick. The owner could not offer anything. The owner would not offer anything. Well, if the owner won't offer anything, if you don't give, you can't take. Sometimes we have to find ways to get what we want. Okay. And these owners, they don't understand it. Let me give you a great example of something that I dealt with recently. Okay. 9-unit apartment community. Okay. Is split into 3 sections. Owner needs to do termite excavation and all this other stuff. Okay. Major renovations. So it's going to be tenant on this day, and they're going to have to be out of their property for 3 days. We want to put a 4th day on there to make sure we get the properties aired out before they come back. Not a requirement, something extra the landlord's doing. It's paying for the hotels, per diem, daily expenses, food credits, the works, okay? And I said, what's in it for the tenants? And he goes, well, what do you mean? They're going to get a great new place to live. They're not going to have termites and wood restriction. No. You basically want me, the tenant, to get all my food out, pack up this place so you can do a tenning, and you're going to pay for the hotel that I go stay in, and you're going to pay for my meals. What incentivizes me to do this? If you gave them $300 off their rent for complying, it would be an incentive on top of everything else. Besides, you're expecting 9 people to all do exactly what you need them to do. What are you doing not incentivizing them? So sometimes you have to spend money to encourage them to do what you all need them to do. Does that make sense? It's kind of like a child with an allowance. You know what? This month, If you help me clean up the yards and the weeds, we're going to give you additional funding, an additional credit, an additional allowance. For those of us that have property managers, sometimes we give them a bigger bonus or offer a bigger incentive when we have a lot of vacancies. That's why. Okay. Pay them more, they'll get it done. All right, bye, Belcy. Thank you. And I hope that works. If you need anything else, let me know.
I have
I
a question.
I served a notice to enter and they never let me enter. How would you approach? Evict if you want to. Show them how big your teeth are, but you got to do it properly. Let me explain. If you serve a 3-day, I'm sorry, I misspoke. If you serve a 24-hour notice to enter and they don't allow you in and they say that you can't go in, the very first time they may say because their kid's sick or it's not a good time for them. Wait a few days and then serve a new notice to enter. If you get the same thing and you're doing it too close together, look at it this way. I can't help you right now. You can't come in. I'm in the hospital. Okay. What if I'm really in the hospital and I'm telling you can't come in? Okay. What if I'm there for a week? All right. Now I'm out of the hospital. Okay. Now it would be better for you to come in now. If you serve me a notice 2 days later, I'm still in the hospital. You're not accommodating me. You're kind of being a jerk. How bad do you want to get in there and why? So pick and choose your battles. Remember, every minefield we walk through has a pathway. And if you get off the pathway, you're susceptible to the mines. So if you don't be reasonable in the beginning or offer a couple of attempts, and it sounds like you've already tried to do this twice, here's what I'm going to tell you. First and foremost, call your legal counsel. Ask your legal counsel how many curables you need to have before they can serve the quit in a nuisance case in your city. Want me to say it again? Ask them how many curables you need to have before the attorney can do the quit for a nuisance case in the city you live in. And they are going to ask you, nuisance with police reports or without? Okay, everybody got that? And then what you do is you serve the 24-hour notice to enter. If they don't let you in, you serve a 3-day curable breach of covenant notice or a 30-day curable breach of covenant notice, depending on if you're subject to the CARES Act. Right? We're not asking for money, so cautious. Anyway, after you serve the 3-day curable breach of covenant, you serve a new 24-hour notice to enter. You can serve those at the same time. You can serve them separately, but you want to see if they'll let you in within that 3 days. If they don't let you in within the 3 days, on the 4th day, you can serve them with a new curable breach of covenant notice, depending on how many times. You have to do a curable, a notice to enter, a curable, a notice to enter. You have to try to see if they'll let you back in. If they don't let you back in, then you contact your attorney. Example, San Bernardino County will tell you do that once. So you serve a 24-hour notice to enter in San Bernardino County. The tenant doesn't let you in. You serve a curable breach of covenant notice. The tenant still won't let you in. The attorney's most likely going to tell you we can turn around and serve the 3-day notice to quit now. In LA County, they may ask you to serve the curable 5 times before you serve the quit. And from when you start the process of serving the first 24-hour notice to enter and you want to do an eviction in order to get them out, you can't accept rent from the time you start serving the notices until you're done with the eviction case. If you accept rent, you void the notice. I hope that answered that question.
I have a question, Patty.
Yeah.
And team on the call. So, I have the crazy tenant. She gave her notice on May 1st to move out on May 31st to vacate. I gave her the right to an inspection. She hasn't responded to that. But then she wrote an email on Saturday saying due to a scheduling error with her movers, she can't move out until June 2nd.
And I told you to respond, okay, thank you for keeping me updated.
Okay, thank you for keeping me updated. Do I say,
That's all you're gonna
That's it.
respond to her. You're done.
okay, so just, and then what happens on June 2nd? Do I prorate, do I get 2 days of rent? You're saying I can charge her the full month's rent since she didn't give me notice until through June 2nd?
Ding.
Or am I being kind and just say, be gone?
Well, let's make that let's make that decision once we see the condition of the house and if she
Okay.
actually leaves.
Okay,
In other
Okay.
words, you have options and we can talk about all those options. We can do something about all those options, but I think what the big picture is, everything that we're talking about currently is hypothetical. Like, let me ask you a question. What if you go to that property, find the carpets professionally cleaned, all of the walls freshly painted, the windows cleaned, and all you have to do is dust off the countertops?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to charge her?
Probably not if everything is in order, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why should you make a decision right now based on something that's hypothetical?
Got it. Okay, so my response then is thank you for letting me know.
Thank you for communicating with me and letting me know, because what she did was is she's communicating.
Okay.
This is a good thing.
Okay.
So you may
Okay.
want to respond with thank you for letting me know. Did you want to set a time on the 2nd for me to pick up the keys?
Right, because part of her message was, let me know how you want to receive your keys and your garage remotes. That was the other part of her message, that she's leaving on the 2nd.
You
And
want to pick them up.
yes,
You
okay,
want a designated time, or you want her to drop them off to you?
okay, okay,
The
right.
reason why is I'm calling that's surrender.
okay.
Okay.
Can I give a time by 6 o'clock on the 2nd?
Well, I want you to play nice with her,
Okay,
because right now she's communicating with you. I don't want to damage and sever the relationship, if that makes sense. I don't want
yes,
you to come back and go, we're going to meet at 10 a.m. and her go, wait a minute, the movers aren't even showing up till 11:30. You're just going to
right.
cause more stress in her life. She's
Mhm.
got a lot of balls bouncing right now. We just need to take a step back and watch where the balls bounce in
Okay,
this process and be as accommodating and as sweet as we can, knowing that we're going to go straight for the jugular if it's not our direction.
okay,
Hi,
Okay?
Patty.
This is Rachel.
Yes.
My question is to you. If my tenant doesn't want to communicate with you, you write to him notes, letters. How many times can you write him a letter before you want to evict him?
I think if your tenant's not communicating with you, you need to hire a property manager to manage a situation for you so you don't get in trouble for harassment.
Thank you.
No problem. There's too many laws protecting tenants regarding harassment. And if they won't even talk to you, that sets off an alarm in the back of my head we talked about earlier today. Remember those spidey senses and those alarms that trigger us if something's not right here? Pay attention to those. How often do you need to paint a tenant's apartment? Every 5 years, 10 years, 12 years? Tony, the lifespan on paint is 3 years. And you can get that information from California Department of Consumer Affairs under landlord tenant. And a lifespan on paint is 3 years. Lifespan on carpet is 5 years. You can get 7 years out of carpet if you buy the upgraded carpet. When I say upgraded, they want you to buy the most expensive there is. No joke.
Okay, so I have a question, and that is, the paint basically was 3 years old, but god dang, there's dirt all over all the walls.
Hold on. You asked me about painting. Painting is painting. If there's dirt on the walls, then the walls need to be cleaned. Cleanliness is a tenant problem. If it's
Okay.
all scuff marks on the walls from their furniture, then that's wear and tear. And we could repaint. I don't repaint on the interior of my units every 3 years. I usually turn them when people move out. But in all fairness, if I have a good tenant in there that's paying me the rent and they're paying good rent, close to market, I just, for the most part, don't have any problems. If they ask me, hey, can we get interior paint? And it's been 5 years, 10 years, of course I'm going to give it to them, because I want them to continue to stay there and be a happy tenant. Does
Right,
that
but
make
in this case,
sense?
they're moving. But in this case, they're moving, and I was in there yesterday, and
Okay, so
Yeah.
listen to this. They're moving. So technically, if they move out and leave the walls that way and they're covered with dirt, you can charge them to wash the walls.
okay,
Okay? If it's scuff marks, that's wear and tear. Nail holes, damage.
okay,
Okay?
okay, got it.
And pick and choose your battles. If they've lived there for 10, 12 years, the likelihood of you being able to charge them anything becomes slim and none. Your only thing becomes damages. And you have to have move-in photos, move-out photos, and photos after the repairs were done in order to charge for damages under today's laws.
Okay, they did not. I sent them lots of paperwork. They did not. They did not return the paperwork for an inspection.
Perfect. Then hit the easy button. Your life got simpler. I just have one question. Did you charge them, or did you have photos from when they moved in 12 years ago?
No, it's only been 3 years. It's less than 3 years.
Do you have photos from 3
I have
years
some
ago?
photos, yes.
Okay, yeah, you have to have move in, move out, and damages, repairs in order to deduct from the security deposit nowadays.
Patty, what if they moved in 9 years ago? Does that still apply for the county?
Does what still
DCBA,
apply?
does that have being able to deduct from the security deposit anything? If you don't, let's say I had pictures 9 years ago when they
Absolutely,
moved in.
damages
Okay,
is damages all day long.
okay,
And if they're still living in your property and they never paid you during the COVID pandemic and they're just now moving out, your statute of limitations starts when they vacate.
but I'm asking, do I have to have pictures? What if I didn't have pictures 9 years ago? Then what do I do?
You can't charge them.
You can't charge anything?
If
From-
not for damages, you don't have move-in photos.
Okay, what about like cleaning or anything like that? You're saying just give the whole deposit back?
You can't charge them if you don't have move-in
I don't
photos.
think that's strictly true if they moved
Yeah.
in 3 years ago.
I would give it up for an attorney to argue, but that's exactly what it says, Chris. You have to have.
Because why the disposition of security deposit is very specific about dates and there are exceptions.
I'll
in it.
send you the assembly bill that changed.
Yeah, no, I know, but it set dates upon which going forward, absolutely, you have to have all three of those sets of photos. But there was a rolling set of dates upon when because it's totally unreasonable to impose a burden. You can't go back in time and take pictures.
I got you. I believe that start date's July 1, 2025.
Yeah, but I
Okay.
think it talks about taking whether the tenancy commenced or not before that date.
I think
got
it's
you.
I think it's
I think
April.
move out photos
Chris, I
you have
think-
to take.
Chris, I think it's April. That it's
Right, but I
that
think
they
if the
did it,
tenant,
but I think if they move out before July 1, I don't think you have to comply.
But what
Well,
Chris
no,
is saying
I'm
is
talking about
if they
move-in
moved
photos.
in 2010, they're exempt.
From move-in photos, if you
I
want to
would
do,
think so.
if you want to take damages, you will have to have pictures of the damages and pictures of the repair, is my
Right.
understanding.
Yes.
Okay. But if they moved in 2016 and I don't have, let's say I don't have pictures of the move in, what happens?
Well, I mean, then
That's
it's
up
kind of
for
your
a
word
judge
against
to
theirs. and
decide.
Okay. I mean,
You have
the
it-
unit was pretty much remodeled with new kitchen,
I
bathroom and everything.
completely and
And I think
totally-
I have photos, but I didn't like share move-in photos
I
with
totally
her.
get you, but remember,
Okay.
this is a new rule and we
Okay.
don't know how it's gonna go. Somebody's
Okay.
gonna challenge it to case law. So I'm
Okay.
gonna err on the side of caution to cover my own asset and tell
Okay.
you that that's up for a judge to decide, not me. In other words, I can't answer that question of what's gonna happen, because I don't know.
Okay.
But as far as move-in photos and having to provide them, the CAA forms kind of having to carve out an exception. So if the CAA is comfortable saying
Okay,
that you don't need to
let me
provide
just
them for
reach the
moving,
tenant because I think
Right.
he's
Sorry.
Sorry.
No,
Uh-huh.
no, you're fine.
Go ahead, Chris. I was listening, but I couldn't hear everything you were saying.
Yeah, no, I mean, on the disposition of security deposit form that
Mhm.
CAA gives out or
Mm-hmm.
provides to members, they have like little exceptions for things because they're like I said, there's like a framework, there's a rolling set of dates, and
Yeah. Yeah, there
obviously
is.
you can't go back in time and take pictures. So it's not really it's fundamentally unfair to expect you to have pictures.
Right.
But they can going forward, you can be required to have pictures of
Correct.
the damage and pictures of the repairs and that. So that's kind of
Okay.
how they did it.
Okay.
So anyway, so CA was comfortable enough with that, and they have pretty good attorneys. And chances are, I mean, it's pretty plain language as far as move, photos prior to moving.
Okay. Okay.
I think that would be kind of hard to say, oh no, a judge is gonna impose a burden. I mean, it's better to have photos. It's always been better. It always
They're
was
worth
kind of
1,000 words, man.
it was always better
Yeah.
to in standard practice to even not providing them to the tenants unless they like threaten to sue you because you withhold
Right.
Correct. And now
Okay.
at this point,
but now
we're
they just want to give you
required to give them to you.
right. Now they
They
want
just
you to
want
do
us
it
to be more
affirmatively.
transparent.
Correct.
And
Okay.
it's funny because I've been taken before, during, after. I photograph everything for all my properties. I've been doing that for 20 years because a picture's worth 1,000 words. They've saved me in court, I don't know how many times. And it's not the picture that I took of the detailed
Thanks.
damage that saved me, but it's when I stood back across the room and took a picture generally of the room in general that saved me. So it's all those weird things that happen to us that come at us from left field that we're just glad that we have our ducks in a row. But it's funny now that I'm watching good business practices become the law. A great example of that is first come, first serve. Fair Housing's been pushing that for the last 15 years. Take your applications first come, first serve. It's the best way to avoid a discriminatory process. Well, after 15 years, they decided to make it the law. Now I've been taking pictures before, during, after, anytime at a move-in. A picture's worth 1,000 words. I've been doing that for 20 years. Now it's becoming a law. So a friend of mine asked me, hey, Patty, what other business practices do you have that are probably going to become laws so we can prepare now? And I said, I'm not going to talk to you because I'm scared you're the one writing the laws. Hey, I'm trying, guys.
Okay.
All right.
So what about the move-in inspection that the tenant does, and then the move-out inspection that the landlord does? What is that?
There's no move. Hold
That's no longer.
on. There is no move-in inspection the tenant does. And if the tenant's doing the move-in inspection, you're doing it wrong. That is your evidence, not theirs. You do the move-in inspection. You go to the property and you document the condition of the property. That is not the tenant's opinion. That's yours. The tenant signs and agrees to it. If your tenant is filling out a move-in inspection, you are failing yourself. You know why? Because I'm going to write that everything's dirty, it's not clean, it's scratched, it's destroyed, or I'm just never going to turn it into you. So you don't even have one. And then I'm going to argue that the landlord didn't do their job. And they shouldn't be able to charge me because I had to do the move-in inspection myself, and that was my opinion, and the house was dirty, even though you have receipts saying you had it cleaned. So it creates an argument that benefits the tenant in court, not you, the owner.
Patty, if you have a move-in inspection that you did I'm regulated by DCBA, and I have several longtime tenants, and I did the walkthrough. So I have my
Yeehaw. You did the walkthrough. Good job. Some people give the walkthrough to the tenant when they move in and tell them to fill it out and turn it back into the owner or the property manager. That is the worst business practice. You're setting yourself up for failure right there.
So can that be used in lieu of pictures if they're a longtime tenant?
No, The new law requires pictures. Give me a week. I'll look into it and see what it says. I just didn't look it up today. But Chris is saying there's got to be some kind of a fallback date. As of this day, you must provide move-in photos. And I think what Arlene was saying is that starts on April 1st, I think she said.
But it's still evidence. It's still evidence of the condition of the place. So
Right.
if they did do damage, you hold on to that. You do your disposition of security deposit. You keep what you feel you can legally justify and can prove. And worst case, they come at you, and if they write you, then you can always say, like, you can always give them a copy of the inspection and write back and say you'll fight it or whatever.
You can
or
also
offer,
argue that you're losing this money because the tenants caused this damage. It all falls back on your evidence, and you can argue it in court, right?
correct.
The tenant's been living there 12 years. There's no peeling paint or anything. I briefly saw a lot of white patchwork because they nailed screw items on the wall and now added new things. The unit was brand new. They're the only ones living there since a remodel. It's a breach of their rental agreement to nail, screw, change, decorate. Do we need to split the bill? Do we need to split bill if they get evicted? I don't know what you mean about split the bill. Damage is damage all day long. So if they get evicted and you're charging for damage because they put a whole bunch of patchwork in the wall and now you have to paint because it didn't look like a spotted leopard before, but it sure does now, you get to charge them for that. If they try to match the color paint and they go buy flat paint and paint it on a semi-gloss wall, it's still damage and you can charge them to paint the whole wall. Okay? Just call it damage because that's what it is. It's not wear and tear, it's damage. Those are your options, wear and tear versus damage. If they cheat to paint the wall with the exact color that you told them to buy, but they bought semi-gloss and yours is painted in flat, it's going to look like a leopard, cheetah, zebra kind of effect. God knows how they paint, but it ain't going to be pretty. You get to charge them to paint that wall. If they do that in the whole house, guess what? That's damage they caused in the whole house. Split the painting of the unit since there was no damage to the paint. Sweetheart, if they nailed or screwed into the wall and they patch it, that's damage. If they nail, that's damage. If they screw, that's damage. If they patch the hole, that's damage. If they leave the nail in the wall, it's wear and tear. Unless the nail holes are excessive. Example, it was on the other side of a dartboard. That's gonna be excessive. Then you can charge them for too many holes in the wall. Make sense? And all the little darts aren't still stuck in the wall, right? If the nail's in the wall, it's wear and tear. Unless it's a lag bolt to mount a flat screen TV drilled into a stud. That's also going to be damage. Modifications to the property without written consent of the landlord. Probably a material breach of the contract.
Okay, lastly, Patty, I have a harebrained scheme and I sort of want to ask you about it because I have a tenant whom I want to move and they say they want to stay one more year. So that's okay with me. But can I ask, they've lived there about 12 years. So can I ask them to sign a 1-year lease and then have that lease be enforceable at the end of the 1-year term?
What city?
DCBA. So just the county.
No, it's gonna count that they've lived there for 12 years.
Okay, thank you. I was afraid of that, but thought it was worth a try.
It has to do with their term of their tenancy, not the term of their rental contract.
Okay, okay, thanks.
No problem. All right, if nobody else has anything, I'm gonna get off of here.
Actually, Patty, I do have one quick question.
Lorena.
Yes.
Hey, I just am like listening to the voice going, okay, I know who that is. I know who this is.
Hi.
Hi, baby.
Hi. So my question is this. We are in a property in Los Angeles, city of Los Angeles, and we are remodeling a unit. Somebody left and we're remodeling the unit. And they had to turn off the water, like the construction workers turn off the water. Before they did it, they went and knocked on everybody's door to let everybody know. They knocked on my most problematic tenant's door, and her son was there. They let the son know, and they went about their business. They were going to turn off the water for about 2 hours. So during the lapse, I got a call from the problematic tenant, and she said, I just got to the house and there's no water. I have to take a shower. I have a commitment. And if the water's not back on, I'm going to go check into a hotel and I'm going to charge you for it. And so when something like that happens, I'm not too familiar on what her rights are and my rights are. Could you elaborate possibly?
It was an inconvenience, not a habitability issue. The water was turned back on same day. It was only delayed for 2 hours. It was an inconvenience, not a habitability issue. For the inconvenience, I could credit your rent a couple of bucks, but for the most part, it's not even a habitability issue, so you're not even going to get per diem.
Okay, so then she did not end up going to the hotel for whatever reason. She, I guess, decided
In the
not
event she would have went to the hotel, lit her hair on fire, I don't care what she did. I would have told her, sorry for the inconvenience. It's not a habitability issue.
Okay, so habitability would be if it was over 24 hours or over 12 hours, or what is the mark? What is the deadline or the length that would turn that inconvenience into a habitability issue?
If they couldn't fix it same day. Look at
Got
it
it.
this way. Look at it
Okay.
this way.
Okay.
If your water heater goes out, then you don't have any hot water. If it's only out for 2 hours, it's not a big deal.
Right.
It's not the end of the world. If it's
No.
off all day, that's a different set of facts.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're sitting there waiting to take a shower at 8 a.m. and by 8 p.m. you still can't take a shower, that's a rent credit.
No, I get it. I mean, I understand as far as common sense what my answer would be, but this tenant is extremely problematic. I mean, she's, she pays like $600 a month. They've been there for like 30 years.
She's gonna consistently call it an habitability issue.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have to say 2 hours is an inconvenience.
Okay. I just wanted to get flat on what legally is considered habitability and what is not, because I didn't, she's the type of person that I know would call
I
the
get
city.
it, but this is 2 hours and they turn the water off to fix a problem. It's
Right.
not like
And
they created another problem.
call her and I did leave her a voicemail and they knocked on the door and talked to her son. So I mean, I did do that prior.
This is necessary or agreed upon repairs, and she's being an obnoxious.
Yeah, totally.
If I could give
Go ahead. What you got,
piece of
Chris?
advice.
Sure.
In writing, apologize for the inconvenience and state that that it's not considered a habitability issue. But be very nice. Be mindful of the fact that if a judge or anybody else or jury ever saw it, that you want to look like the reasonable person and be able to portray her as the unreasonable person.
I appreciate that, but I've always learned from Patty and my attorneys to put nothing in writing. So
you can put that in writing. That's what I'm saying to you. I'm sorry, and that's what he's saying to you. Look at it this way.
Because putting it in writing documents that you are.
It documents that you're the bigger person and you went above and beyond, even though you didn't have to.
Okay, so then that we can put in writing, like this happened. we did call, we did leave a message, we spoke to your son.
Lorena, let me say it a different way, okay?
Okay.
Thank you for bringing to my attention your
Right.
inconvenience with the
Got it.
water being turned off for 2 hours. Thank goodness it was only 2 hours. I'm more than happy to credit you $10 for your inconvenience and hope you have a wonderful day.
Right. Something that's very polite and
And
you know,
very simple.
and right.
Got it.
And we're not saying it's not a habitability. We don't have to give you, we're not feeding them that
No.
information. We're just
No.
calling it an inconvenience, apologizing and throwing peanuts at them.
Okay. Got it. Thank you guys. Thank you both.
No worries, no worries. And anytime you got to eat crow, do it that way where you're addressing, we're so sorry about the inconvenience that this has caused you. Because even when you have a disruption with the trash cans or something ridiculous,
Yeah.
if it's an inconvenience, it's a lot less expensive than a habitability issue.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I have no problem eating crow. I don't have a problem with that.
Oh,
I don't
girl,
care.
I know you well. You give it, Chris
I
is
give it
saying-
no
I
value
heard Chris
whatsoever.
saying to you very calmly, you kind of want to approach this, and I'm like, dude, she knows plastic face. She got
Yeah.
she's got plastic face. She's got this.
Yeah. Okay,
But
perfect.
no, I
Thank
would
you guys.
address anytime you have something where you want to give them, I'm going to call it a shut up credit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In other words, here's a credit, shut up. This is ridiculous. Don't bring this to light. You're not going to go anywhere. And it's a waste of my time. And quite frankly, I don't want to hear it anymore. It's kind of a shut up credit to shut you up, if that makes sense. It's kind of like
100%.
when your kid goes, can I go to the movies? Can I go to the movies? Can I go to the movies? And you're like, here's $20. Go to the movies and get out. Shut up. So it's kind of that credit to make them go away. I call it the shut up credit. So I would offer her an inconvenience for whatever dollar amount, but not even a third of a daily rent. Okay, we're talking like $10. I'm sorry for the inconvenience of not being able to shower.
But I do like the apologetic letter or email, because you're documenting like, okay, this person brought a habitability issue. I addressed it, tried to bring it to my attention. It wasn't really reasonable, but I addressed it. I communicated with them. I didn't just ignore it,
Yeah,
because
I was reactive.
The same person may in the future say, well, this person's this, that favorite word they all call everybody a slumlord,
Yep.
because
And they said they never communicated with me. They didn't give me anything. They didn't
they
tell
didn't
me
answer.
nothing.
They didn't answer when, I complained about this or that. You always want to respond in a professional and polite, friendly manner, and you always want to document it so that, they can't come in and paint you to be a super bad guy. You
No,
want to be
and
able
look at it this way. Look at it this way. Let's paint a picture a different way. Your Honor, I didn't have hot water for over a day, and I didn't get rent credit, and I couldn't shower, and my kids couldn't bathe. And now you're in court arguing all this stuff, and you get to calmly say, I apologize for the inconvenience of the water being off for 2 hours, and credited her $20 for the inconvenience. I mean, that makes you sound reasonable, understanding, and receptive to the situation rather than just ignoring it. The shut up discount. I like that answer.
I like it too. So okay, that's exactly what I'm gonna do then, guys. Thank you.
Okay, and just keep using the word inconvenience.
Yes.
It's a great word when you're having to deal with something you're questioning of giving them a credit for.
Absolutely. Hey, you know what? Since I have you now, let me quickly ask you. Now, I always take photos as well. It's been a practice of mine for a long, long time.
Yeah, like I tell people, we've been doing this for 20 years. What are you freaking out about?
Yeah. So, but now that it's a lot like what, I don't even know. I didn't even pay much attention to it because since I'm already doing it, but
Lorena, here's what I could tell you that'll help you because I know what you're already doing. I've been to your office, okay? You know when your vendors do a repair for you, you want a photo before and after the repair is done. Anytime and every time.
Yeah,
and let
we
me
do that on Outfolio that when I send the work
I got you.
Yeah.
But I'm also saying it out loud so everybody else can learn. Because they're going, Patty, why would you have somebody take photos of the repairs? Because if you're gonna slip and charge it back to the tenant as damage, you have to
Yeah.
have a picture of the damage and of it repaired in order to deduct it from the deposit. So you might as well train your vendor staff to do your job for you.
Yeah.
Hit the
100%.
easy button.
But just so I know, what are the pictures that are required by law? Like when they, what are they saying? Like a kitchen picture? or
Move
what?
in. If you want to deduct from the security deposit for damages, you must have photos of the property when they moved in, the condition of the property when they moved in, when they moved out, and then after the work was done. So in other words, when they move out, if they left damages, and then after the workman does the work.
Got it. Okay. And no particular room, just the whole unit.
Anything you want to charge them for, you have to have move-in photos before, after, and repaired. Is
Got
the
it.
easiest way I could explain it. Before, after, and repaired.
Got it. Okay.
But that's why I'm telling you to have your workmen take pictures when you do repairs during the tenancy, because what if it's a broken window, as an example, and then 6 months later you decide, you know what, I'm going to charge that broken window to the tenant because it was their fault.
Yeah.
You got to have photos under the new law. So that's why we want to train our workmen to take photos.
Now, and then like, oh, somebody just moved out about a week ago, and I went in the unit, they did some damage, took pictures. And then I went outside and I saw next to the trash can, they left like their whole unit, like two sofas, a mattress, all this crap that I had to have the guys take in the truck and then, take it to the dump. Can we charge them for that, even though it's outside of the unit?
Absolutely.
And even though I can't prove, I don't have a camera, I can't prove that it was them, but I know it was them.
Trash hauling, extra trash dump fee. Yeah, we've always been able to charge that stuff, but it wasn't on the curb when they moved in.
Yeah, but what if they say like, oh, that wasn't me?
It wasn't on the curb when you moved in.
Got it. Oh, okay. So they can't say, oh, that must have been like another random person that left all that furniture there.
But you get where I'm coming. It's worth a shot. You know what I mean? It's an argument, and just depending. And you know as well as I do how far you can push somebody. So just start poking.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you for your time, guys. I appreciate it.
No, thank you. If you guys need anything, let me know. I'm here to help you. It looks like I got a crazy week next week. And then I have complete open schedule. So yeehaw, we're going to start focusing on some more training and some more classes. Oh, hopefully that excites some people. If you guys need me, let me know. I am available. If anybody needs me for anything else, feel free to give me a call. If a tenant does not want to take a picture, record the damage during the inspection. You're in their house, take the picture anyway. Tenant called police claiming they had no water, hot and cold water in their unit. They immediately inspected after. They gave them written notice and recorded discreetly because I know the tenant doesn't like me even taking pictures. They lied and got upset when they saw I recorded it. You're in their house. You can record. They may tell you, you can't record without my permission. Okay, thank you for letting me know. But you've already recorded what you needed to, so don't even worry about it. You can't take pictures. Yes, I can. This is my property. And you're already in their house, so. Just watch it that you don't have any photographs of minors. That's where it becomes a big problem. All right, you guys, I'm out of here. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you.
Call me if you need me. Track me down. I know you know how to.
Thank you, Patty.
Thank you,
Patty.
guys. Thank you, guys. Bye, everybody. I'll
Bye.
talk to you soon.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Nice.